Guys, so I have owned this car, the 19 BMW M5 competition, for 1 year. I have made 12 payments. Gonna run through a few of the things that I wish were a little bit different and would overall add to my enjoyment of the car. None of them are deal breakers or anything like that, just mild annoyances, really. The rear temperature controls are not really easily controlled from the front. I have to either reach my hand back there or navigate through quite a few menus to be able to just turn it off altogether. I really wish there was a way for me to just override it and sync them all together with one easy button. So when that happens, I don't have to stare at the screen or fumble around behind me while I'm driving. Another issue that I'm not quite sure why it's this way, but the ventilated seats in the summer when it's hot, they really aren't that cool. Like at first you get a nice little cooling sensation, then you're sort of just like, well, it's hot. And other cars I've had and have, you feel the cooling the whole time. So this one, I'm not sure what their reasoning behind it is, but it's an unfortunate side effect of however they cool the air coming through it. The wireless charging location is not convenient if you have anything in the cup holder. The size of it is too small for the bigger iPhones, or like I have the Note, like it literally won't fit in there. It barely fits with no case, but then I have to take it in and out of the case every time, where I don't even use the charging tray anymore. It still has a gas cap. It's a weird thing, I know, but these days they have those, like the capless fuel. A lot of cars have it, yet for the price, this has just a really cheap cap you take off and put the little point into a little holder, and it makes it feel cheap. The key is pretty ordinary and boring, which isn't a big deal. You don't have to take it out much, except there is a really cool high-end BMW key that allows you to remote start, summon the car, like park it, pull it in and out of its parking spot. Apparently I can't get that key. I've had the parts department look into it. They just said it's not available on my car. I can't remote start my car. I said this in another video. People are like, it's on the app. I've looked on the app. It's not a possibility for my car. So a part I don't understand, where maybe it's just an issue with my car, but I've brought it up and nothing really seems to come up. I can open the trunk from a button inside my car, but it does not close the trunk. It's not a huge deal, but there is a button on the outside on the trunk itself that I could push and it closes the trunk for me. So the capability is there. I push down on the trunk button inside the car, the trunk opens. I lift up on the button, it just beeps at me like it's not capable of doing it. Put your foot under it and it will open. You can wave your foot, it will close. Has those options, but it would really be useful if I could open the trunk, let the kids put backpacks or whatever they want in it, lift up on it, and then it closes. But that's just not the case. There's a few things that I just absolutely think are amazing. One is the infrared camera. Now, I don't drive around with the camera showing all the time, but what it does is it warns you if a person's walking on the street and it thinks they're gonna cross. The heads-up display shows something, the dash shows something, so it's a useful tool. It works with animals, people, anything like that it thinks is going to cause a problem. Has a built-in warning. If you actually do have it pushed where you see the camera, even highlights the people yellow and then red if it thinks they're going to run out in front of you. It is something that I can totally see being utilized a lot more in cars as we move forward. It has basically, in its current version, the same abilities for self-driving that Tesla has. I don't know if they can expand this one further like Tesla can. So there are a few times I actually prefer the way this drives over Tesla, where sometimes Tesla just slams on the brake because it thinks the car next to you is in your lane and it thinks it's gonna hit them. This seems to have it figured out a little better and not cause issues like that. You have to follow a few steps, so it's a little confusing to get it into the right mode. But when you get in the right mode, it'll parallel or just park in a standard parking spot for you, which is really awesome. It spaces itself right, it stops itself before it hits something. The 360-degree park view is really useful. More than I thought I would need. It's really cool to look at first, but then how you can cycle it through all the different angles of the camera to see if you're gonna hit the curb, if there's a random pole that you need to look at behind you. It literally, you can just cycle it all the way around the car. It has an artificial version of your car and then uses all the multiple cameras on the car to show you what's around you. It stitches them together to be a really, really well represented real-time model of what's going on. And I've used it quite a few times to make sure I avoid even a big dip in the road or something. It's even got it to where if you use a car wash, it shows like a straight down view and shows you the lines of where your tires are to make sure you line up in the grooves properly. So they really thought that out as well. With the capabilities of phones being wirelessly charged, they thought out enough to put a tray in this. Now the location I'm not a huge fan of. It keeps phone charged fully the entire drive if you're using your navigation or something like that. So it's a huge asset without having wires running all over. It's a really nice upgrade. It's this close to being perfect. The size and orientation of where you put your phone and the location just need a little bit of tweaking. The armrest is split down the center, so if my arm is on it and my wife needs in it, she can push the button, her side open, she can grab what she needs without me having to lift my arm up and move out of the way. It's a small thing, but it's a small thing that shows they put a lot of thought into what they were doing, and it just overall adds to the comfort and ease of use while you're on a road trip. The seats in this are amazingly comfortable. They have heating, they have ventilated air, they have massages. You can run all three at the same time, which really works well. If it's cold, you can turn the heat on and the vents and it blows hot air instead of just toasting you like a toaster where it's a hot coil that makes it hot while getting massaged. So for long trips, your back doesn't tighten up. You can really put in more miles each day without really feeling the consequences when you get out of the car. The ambient lighting on this, it's not a necessity. It looks amazing, and I can tell you, after fixing my car at the body shop, the ambient lighting inside isn't currently working. It will get fixed when I take it to the dealer. It's not a rush. It's not a necessity. It makes the car feel so much cooler inside, though. Now that I don't have it, I'm super bummed out, and I want it back. And it just, again, it adds to the feel of a quality car, and it makes you feel like you're in a car that costs as much as this car costs. No matter where you're driving, if the car has an update about a traffic issue, it will notify you. If you want it to, it will show you an alternative route. A lot like if you use Waze app or something like that, but the car does it on its own. Even if you're not in the navigation screen, it still does it for you. The M buttons on the steering wheel being customizable are really cool, so you could get two totally different driving experiences by the pushes of the button on the steering wheel. So you can have the all-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive only, you can full on, all the horsepower, all the torque, aggressive or a little bit less. You could back it off, make it more track, more drag, racing style. So it really lends for a custom feel. Each driver gets their own customization of those buttons. So, I think it holds 3 or 4 drivers. You can pick which one you are. It's linked to the key. So when I get in with my key, it's on me, and the buttons are the way I want it to be. So it's really convenient and smart in that way. And again, thought out. A lot of this stuff is just they put thought into a car and you feel like you're getting your money's worth. The soft closed doors are something you never knew you wanted until you have them, and then you get in another car and you just barely close your door and it's not closed tight, and you just look at it like, what's wrong with you? You didn't close yourself. And then you realize you're not in your BMW, and then you're like, oh, I rented a car and I was just staring at the door like, why are you not closing? And then it made sense. And then on top of that, when you push the start stop button when you're done driving, it puts it into park for you. Not every car does that, and you feel a little bit silly when you try to get out of a random other car that doesn't do that and it's not in park and it starts yelling at you. From your phone, you can send the address to your car, so it's navigation's ready. It sets everything up. You just pick it, say, I want this to go to this car. Tesla does it too, so my phone actually has 3 options. Do you want your phone to do it? Do you want the BMW to do it? Or do you want the Tesla to do it? Again, it's one of those things I think is going to be a standard thing in the future. When I put it in rear-wheel drive mode and did a bunch of burnouts, it protects itself by raising the rev limiter so you don't hurt the car, to where it actually makes it easier to do burnouts, and you just consistently can spin the tires at the right RPMs. You don't have to to bounce the throttle to keep it doing what you want. It's almost cheating. It's really awesome that it protects itself and you don't have to worry as much as you would with another car overheating while you do that. Well, that's it for this one. Be sure to subscribe, like, share, comment, and let me know what you think on this. And if there's anything I missed, let me know in the comments